Today on the LA Food Podcast, I'm your host, Lucas Servodio, brightening up your June gloom with an episode that can only be described as epic with a capital E. Happy Top Chef finale week to all those who celebrate. To preview the occasion, we're joined by a very special guest. We have Top Chef executive producer Doneen Arquines with us today to break down why this season of Top Chef World All-Stars has been so damn special, and why you should drop everything to tune into the finale on Thursday night. We also dive into Doneen's incredible journey from being a production assistant in 2006 when the show started to executive producing the show today. I ask her what her favorite challenges have been over the years, which city she most enjoyed filming in, and of course, what the show will look like without the great Padma Lakshmi, who announced last week she'll be moving on from the show starting next season. Speaking of culinary legends, Father Saul joins me to discuss a weekend that saw Los Angeles dominate the medal count at the James Beard Awards, with Angelenos racking up more awards than Kim Jong-un at the North Korean ESPYs. We give love to Anajak Thai, giggle at eaters' petty behavior towards Bill Addison, and reflect on what these awards mean for LA's continuing culinary ascendance. One more thing, dear listener, we're actually going to be back on Saturday with a Top Chef finale recap, so don't pack your knives just yet because you will not want to miss that. What a week, what an episode, what a life. Without further ado, let's chow down. Dear listeners, I could not be more excited today because we are joined by a very, very special guest. It is Doneen Arquines, the executive producer of the best food show on TV, hands down, Top Chef. Doneen, how are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Doing awesome, especially since we're about, 36 hours away from the finale. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm very excited for everybody to see it.
I'm assuming this is not the case because it's not a live show and you've been doing this for a while now, but any pre-finale jitters?
No, yeah, I'm just, like I said, more just excited for people to see it, for the culmination of the season to be out there.
Well, it's been an incredible season. For those who don't know, it's very special season 20 happening in London. It's World All Stars. And I want to talk about that and what has made the season so special. But first, I want to learn a little bit about you and your path to becoming the executive producer of Top Chef. You've been there since the beginning of the show. Is that right?
Yeah, I started as an office PA season one, and I was able to actually travel to San Francisco with the crew. Um, and yeah, just been working my way up ever since.
That's awesome. Were you always a foodie? Like, was the plan to get into food television, or was it just sort of kismet that this happened?
I think it was just kismet. I actually was kind of a picky eater to begin with. Um, Not, and there's definitely things I enjoyed, and I enjoyed cooking or baking, but um, I was not necessarily focused on food at that point.
Yeah. Have you become a foodie since?
Absolutely, yeah. I think because I've been able to have the opportunity to go eat at some amazing restaurants and have food cooked by these amazing chefs. Even if I'm not sure if I'm going to like something, I will try it. And so I think it's just gotten more adventurous as the years have gone on to try new things and then discover that, oh, actually, I do like that. And I didn't think I did. Or, giving it another shot. And the way somebody prepared something was like
Yeah.
mind blowing. And I'm like, okay, I can eat this that way.
Yeah. Is there anything that comes to mind that like you really that your experience with Top Chef has really turned you on to in terms of food?
That's a good question. I would say, I would say probably I'm kind of more adventurous when it comes to vegetables these days, because I am
Hmm.
not a person who enjoys, like, actually, like, bitter taste. Like, bitter is not my favorite, taste, and a lot of vegetables tend to
Hmm.
be on the bitter, earthier side, and but the more that I've eaten them, the more that I've had them prepared various ways, the more they've kind of grown on me. One thing that I still can't do is, truffle, which is kind of blasphemous in my world. Like, everybody loves truffles, but there's something funky about a truffle that I just does not sit right with me. But I do like mushrooms, other mushrooms prepared different ways. which wasn't something that I grew up eating for sure.
Does that apply both to fresh truffles and, like, truffle oils and, like, truffle flavorings?
Yeah, I think truffle oil is way worse than like a fresh truffle for me, but the
Agreed.
but fresh truffles and stuff, yeah, they're just even the smell of them make me really kind of like grossed out. I think that, but I've seen those like cilantro with some people. You know how some people cilantro tastes like soap, and some people love it. I love cilantro, but
Yeah.
mush this truffle. There's something in the truffle that does something that's like it's not sitting right for me.
Great for your wallet that that's the thing
Yeah,
that you don't
true.
gravitate towards, so could be worse.
Mm.
So I don't know a lot about how the behind the scenes of unscripted television works, but I understand that PA to executive producer is a pretty wild and impressive ride. Was that sort of your goal when you first joined Top Chef? You know, did you think like one day I'm gonna be in that EP chair? Or you know, what was the journey like? How did it go?
Yeah, I mean, I think well, when I first started Top Chef, I didn't really even know what I wanted to do exactly. I moved to Los Angeles thinking I really wanted to work in documentaries and that kind of thing. Um, but I needed a job, right? So I moved to LA September after I graduated from college. And I had been lucky enough before my graduation to meet some alumni that were living down in Los Angeles. And they all said, when you make it down here, send us your resume. We'll pass it around if anything comes up. And so I did, waited a couple weeks and finally got a response um, for a job interview for Top Chef, which was at the time obviously not known. It was a I was told it was a cooking competition, similar to Project Runway, made by the same company that produces Project Runway, which got me super intrigued
Mhm.
because I watched Project Runway my senior year of college. I work at a fabric store in the summertime, so I was like, "Oh, yeah, anything to get close to this," you know? So yeah, so I interviewed for that, and yeah, it just kind of took off from there. And I've done other things in between, but I was able to come back the next season as an AP, and then a couple seasons later, the producer who was producing the quickfire challenges and booking the guest judges was booked on another show and couldn't come back, and so that spot opened up, and I had been around enough that they gave me the opportunity to move up into that role. And it just kind of went from there. I think I've been very lucky. I think, obviously I try to work hard and I really care about this show. And I think I work hard, but it also takes a little bit of luck and scheduling because we're in a freelance world. And you know, sometimes you don't know the schedule in advance and it comes up and you might already be booked on something. But I've been lucky enough
Yeah.
that it's out where I've been able to roll from one season to the next, and then be a part of Top Chef Masters and other spin-off versions of the show. So yeah, so I've really grown with the show, and been lucky enough to be able to run it now.
And the role that opened up was producing the quickfire challenges, is that right?
Yes,
And do you remember the first quickfire challenge that you were in charge of?
I sure do. It was the Pizzeria Uno Quickfire Challenge in Chicago, and it was the very first quickfire. And we took all the chefs arrived at Pizzeria Uno, and they got to taste, deep dish pizza, and then they moved into their house, and they had to like make pizza at their house. And like Rocco and Padma went to the house and ate at the house. And I remember that first one because I didn't really fully understand all the things that I was responsible for. I was kind of like learning as I went, and I thought I had everything, but the one thing that I didn't have was plates and utensils. So um, I wasn't prepared with plates and utensils, and but we got them. But it was like one of those things. I was like, "Oh, that's me. I got." So, yeah.
That's hilarious.
Hmm.
Yeah, you learn as you go. That's really, I feel like that's applicable to any job, but surely the stakes are a little higher when you've got the role of doing the quick fire challenges for Top Chef. That's
Yeah.
amazing. So, okay, let's talk a little bit about this particular season because it has been absolutely mind-blowing. I mean, one of the things that makes Top Chef so incredible is the setting of each season, right? The city does so much to shape the challenges and the narratives. this was always going to be a special season because of the World All Stars, the landmark nature of it. How did you choose London as the setting for this very special season?
Well, I think we all knew that we wanted the season to be set in an international city.
Hmm.
Something that felt big for season 20, and it's always been kind of one of those goals to do an entire season overseas. And when we were talking about cities, London was kind of like, in the middle of North America and Asia, and like kind of brought everything kind of together in a way. And then also there was not a Top Chef franchise in London. Hopefully there will be eventually, but
Hmm.
there was not one. And so there wasn't a competitor coming from London. So it kind of felt like a nice even playing ground. Like, not that anybody had been like competing in London. So it was like great international city, great food scene, and just lent itself really well to be able to bring in all these amazing guest judges too, like Gagan from Thailand, and we had some people from Mexico and
Yeah.
Canada. So it was kind of in the middle.
Yeah, that makes sense. And as you said, yeah, you have been able to bring in such incredible guest judges and people to make cameos. And another thing that I've really enjoyed is you've done such a great job of utilizing all that the city has to offer in terms of like different cuisines and its culture. And I think like subverted our expectations on this podcast of, how exciting British food can actually be.
Yeah, I would say visas. Because we are trying to fly in people from 11 different countries from around the world into London. And, every country has different travel restrictions and things like that. And so we had to be able to get visas for every chef to come to London and be able to work in London. And then same thing, also knowing, because we knew when the season started we were going to be doing the finale in Paris. We also needed to make sure that before we started filming
Mhm.
that they also were able to get into Paris in case they make it to the finale, because we don't know. So we didn't want to get there and be like, oh, they can't enter the country. you know so
Yeah.
getting all that stuff done in advance, it's like an 8 to 10 week process. So we had to have everything, like, we had to know who was competing well in advance, more so than a regular season.
Yeah, I bet. That sounds like logistical challenges for sure. Like another thing that's really stood out to me about this season is for some reason, a lot of Top Chef seasons have a lot of heart. Like, I think back on, like, the Portland season right after COVID, right? That one to me had a lot of heart. It was very personal, and, there was just a sense of togetherness, and I feel like this season has really replicated that, in a powerful way, especially some of the relationships between chefs, like Amar and Ali famously, right? Their bromance is particularly heartwarming. I'm curious if you can think of any factors that maybe contribute to what has given this season so much heart.
Gosh, I think part of it has to do with the fact that they're all doing it again. Um, I think
Mm,
when you come onto the show the first time around, you're maybe a little bit more guarded because you're not sure what you're gonna look like on TV, right? So you're a little bit more nervous coming into it.
mhm.
And I think, you know, they're all winners and finalists. They made it very far. They did well in their season. So I think that they came in with a little bit more openness than they may have the first time around.
Yeah,
And,
the ice
the
was
other
broken,
thing
so to speak.
yeah, exactly. And the other thing also is it is a competition, right? So the crew can't really get very close to the chefs, like we can't like form bonds with them. We've got to keep it really separate because it's a competition at the end of the day. And it's like, we want to make sure that everything is fair and nobody feels like there's playing favorites or anything. And so then they're really become like they're their own unit and they really rely on each other. So yeah, I think that's part of it as well.
That's interesting because I know that, like, on other unscripted, TV shows, that I watch, like, for example, The Bachelor, I know that, like, they get really close with their producers, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, and that's
It's
not
a
the
different
case here.
case though. Yeah, it's different. That's definitely not the case here.
Yeah. And I guess that would contribute to them needing to fend for themselves and lean on each other. That's really interesting. Another thing that I've really enjoyed about the season have been the challenges. I mean, the challenges in Top Chef are always incredible. My wife is always amazed by how seamlessly y'all are able to like integrate the sponsorships as well in a way that feels very organic and in a way that like is actually interesting. It's like, you
We
know,
try.
you see the sponsor and immediately your head starts racing. Oh, what are they going to do this time? And you guys always do it really well. But this season in particular, like the Goggin challenge was incredible. What's the process for coming up with challenges? Is it just like a writer's room where y'all are throwing around ideas, or how do these come together?
Pretty much, it's very similar to that, except for it's just our challenge producers. So it's me, it's my co-AP T, and then we've got a whole team of producers. There's like 4 challenge producers and 2 APs, and we all like contribute ideas to the conversation. We'll write up ideas and we'll discuss them. And a lot of times, um, you know, somebody has an idea, but it's not exactly quite the right one, or like, how can we turn that into like an individual challenge or make it a team challenge, or can we make it more exciting or more fun, or how is it more difficult? And it's a conversation. And so it's definitely um, evolving things. And I think that also, Casey Criley, who's my boss and, runs Magical Elves, and our execs at Bravo also help push us to like really think about challenges in a new way. How are we doing service that's different than something that we've done before? Um, because there's only so many ways you can serve food to people, right? So, but we are still trying to
Yeah.
kind of figure out ways to change it up and make it feel fresh. But it always, I think, every season we're lucky enough that we do travel for every season, so we're always set into a different destination, and that immediately gives us something fresh to work with. Because every region has their own specialty dishes or things that are like really popular there. Um, to kind of start the conversation. And so like, like with London, obviously we knew we wanted to do pub food and like Wellingtons and all the like traditional British things. But we also look after you look at the destination, then we look at food trends and what are other chefs doing that's cool and
Hmm.
exciting. And that's where Gagan comes from. What he's doing in his restaurant is really cool and different and make it in a different way. Um, which is which is exciting.
Yeah, as you're talking, like, all of these challenges have been just, like, coming back to me and just thinking about the breadth and sort of, like, richness of all of them. Over the years, is there a challenge that's sort of, like, risen to the top as your favorite, one that you remember particularly fondly?
I think there's a few. I think for a long time, the answer always was the Charlize Theron challenge in the Texas season, where they had to make a dish fit for an
Uh
evil queen. It was a very straightforward challenge. The food they made was really cool looking. So that one definitely was a favorite. I mean, early days, like season 6, also when we had all those French chefs around the table with Joël Robuchon, and it was like, they're just making a dish with a sauce. Like it wasn't that like it was pretty straightforward culinary challenge, but because of who was sitting at that table, the pressure was on and it was really exciting. I also talk about
Mhm.
Sesame Street was one of my my favorite quick fire challenges. It was really fun to see how we were going to like work puppets into a quick fire challenge. So yeah, there's been fun ones, and then Parma in Italy was amazing.
That is one of my favorite food cities in the world, and I think you guys did it such justice. That was one of my favorite, absolute, like, travel detours of Top Chef, hands down. I have to mention Buddha because he has been an absolute force this season, and I wanted to ask you a question, which is something that me and my co-host have talked about a lot, and Buddha is incredible because he's such like us, a fan of the show and a student of the show, and he's been able to really, I think, use that to his advantage in the way that he tackles challenges. I'm curious, do you think that that means that the show can be quote unquote hacked by someone who studies it enough? Like you as the producer who comes up with challenges, do you feel like he's kind of hacked the system?
I don't know if the show could be hacked necessarily, but I do think that you can do things to help yourself. I think Sarah doesn't talk about it as much, but she is just as much of a fan of the show as Buddha. She's very familiar with all of the
Mm.
challenges as well. And I think we heard from Nicole earlier this season, like that she knew we were coming to London, so what did she do? She practiced Yorkshire pudding, right? So I think there's a little bit of a level that everybody knows coming into it. Like if you're going to some city, of course you got to study where you're going, because if you've seen the show, obviously yes, you know that we're going to hit some of those like key things within the city. You may not know exactly what we're going to do with it, but I'm sure Buddha had no idea that we were going to make them do 3 Wellingtons. Like that one was a crazy challenge. But it was, yeah. So I think that there are definitely things that you can do to help yourself. But at the end of the day, if you can't execute, it really doesn't matter. You have to have a strong
Yeah.
foundation to be able to actually like put those things into practice, because people attempt to do it, but it's not always successful. And, and there's even little things like I remember Jim from season 14 from Charleston. He went to the Whole Foods in
Hmm.
Charleston before filming started so that he could see like the layout and know where everything was so that he was like prepped and ready to go. So there's people in the past too who have done their studying. So yeah,
Wow, that's incredible. Has anyone ever brought as many molds as Buddha has brought to this season?
I'm not sure if they brought as many, but actually, so Victoire and Begonia both brought quite a few molds with them as well. They just didn't maybe use them as much, but yeah, they're every chef's got their like thing that they have to have, and for Buddha, it happened to be molds.
Yeah, their tricks up their sleeve. Yeah, Richard Blaze probably was just carrying around tons of liquid nitrogen with him at all times. What was your favorite moment of shooting this season? Are there any like moments that you look back on and are like, wow, that was special?
I mean, I think cooking in Claire Smith's 3-star Michelin restaurant was pretty amazing. That we were able to pull off restaurant wars there. Um, I think honestly, like just I was so excited when all the chefs arrived in London and like that first moment of them meeting each other and like just getting into the kitchen and having to immediately start working with each other. Just it felt big and exciting right out of the gate for us. And I think um that was awesome.
I mean, all of the beginnings of Top Chef feel a little like when you're at, summer camp and meeting these people that you're going to become close to for the first time. But this one had even more of that feeling. And maybe it does come back to what you were saying earlier about they've done this before. Their
Yeah.
walls are down. They're ready. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing too, actually, I should definitely mention is Alan Ducasse showing up on the boat was also like in the last episode was just amazing. Like he had a prior engagement. We already knew that the day before, the day that we were filming. But that was the day that the challenge we had to shoot. So, and also I know he doesn't like to do judging in general. He doesn't usually do those roles on television. So we did not have high hopes that he would appear, but yeah, the night before, they let us know that, hey, he might be able to stop by and if he wants to say hi to Tom. And we're like, okay, but if he comes and says hi to Tom, can he just like pop in the kitchen and just say hello to the chefs too? Because they would just really love it. And they made it happen. And gosh, they were so excited.
So when you told the contestants that Alan was not going to be able to be there, did you mean it? Or did you
No,
know
we
that you're
really
going to
did.
pull off a surprise?
We didn't know. We didn't know until after that he was, and literally all we heard was that he was going to stop by and say hi to Tom because they knew each other. And that's where my producers are amazing and talked to the team and really like worked with them to kind of just like, this right window of time when Tom was going to do his walkthrough to like get him into the kitchen.
Damn, so you guys actually made that like I thought, "Oh, wow, they're just tricking the chefs," but no, it was actually a
No,
surprise. That's really cool. We watched it happen live. That's hilarious. Okay, last question on the season is it's season 20. A lot of people, if they hear season 20, they're not gonna tune into a show because they're like, "I missed the first 19 seasons," you know? Obviously, that's not exactly how this works because it's a competition show, but for people who feel like they've maybe missed the quote unquote Top Chef boat, what would your argument be to have them start with this season?
that is a great question. I think that um yeah, I think obviously we do have a lot of callbacks like, with the rice challenge and whatever, but at the end of the day, it's all about the chefs and the food that they're creating and their stories. And if you like watching cooking shows, if you like learning about people and cultures, I feel like you can really get into this show. And there's a level of competition that's fun, but then there's also that sense of camaraderie that we also see out throughout the season. So it's like I don't know, I feel like it's a feel good but also competitive and fun show to watch.
Yeah, it's that I agree with you. I mean, it's the perfect mixture of like competitiveness and heartwarming camaraderie, to use exactly your word. It's like you don't always get that with competition. It's usually just cutthroat competition, but no, this balance strikes that balance really well. It brings me to a question about sort of the past of Top Chef. I feel like I have to ask you this as someone who you've been there since the beginning. You know, I think just the casual viewer can observe some things that have changed over the years in Top Chef, right?
Mhm.
One thing, a couple things that I've noticed over the years are things like I feel like, and maybe I'm just imagining this, and maybe you can tell me I'm wrong, but I feel like we used to get more sort of behind the scenes drama. Like we used to get more sort of like they're at the house. Someone didn't like the way they were spoken to that day, and they sort of like hash it out back at the house and whatnot. Um, I feel like we don't get that as much these seasons. Is that because is that a choice, or is that just because that's not happening anymore?
I think it's not happening the same way that it used to. Um, and also, I mean, we definitely are still shooting with the chefs, after they're done with a challenge or at night or whatever. Which I think you saw because this season, every episode was supersized. There was definitely a lot more of that this year. Um, and so, but I just think that, the chefs are just a little bit more aware of what they're saying
Hmm.
and how they're behaving on television. I've mentioned this before to other people is that, you know, production started in 2005, and I remember that was like the year that I signed up for Facebook. Like it was just brand new. So social media wasn't a thing, and people were not holding up a mirror to you the way that they are now. When you're appearing on television. And so I just think in general, and I think and that goes across the board on even other competition shows and other reality shows, that people are just a little bit more aware of their behavior. Um, but at the same time, I also just think that that's just how also um, socially how we've kind of all evolved.
Yeah. That's a great point. I didn't really think about the fact that, yeah, 2006, I think I signed up for Facebook too that year. These days, we all kind of know how to, like, we all are hyper aware that we're being observed at all times. But back then, 2006, we didn't, I think you could probably
Mhm.
have ignored a camera in the room, but now we all know how to act in front of a camera. It's a great point. What is your favorite city that you have shot in and why for Top
I
Chef?
mean, I always love Paris, of course. But I think the full run of a season, being there for 2 months, I probably had the most fun in New Orleans. Um, I feel like New Orleans just has that like vibe that no other city in America has. There's like just like a certain life to it. Everybody's out, the music's playing, like it's just got an energy that I don't think you can beat in a lot of other places.
And some great challenges in New Orleans too. So talk about utilizing the sort of like richness of the culinary like landscape
So
there. I think you guys did a really good job there. Well, like when I think back on all of the seasons of Top Chef and all of the places you've been, it feels to me like there aren't that many places left to go. I'm curious, are there any regions or cities that you haven't yet shot in that you're particularly interested in?
yeah, well, I mean, I think that for the last actually a couple of years, I think the biggest cities that keep continually getting mentioned online, like on Twitter and stuff that I see, or from fans, is they're like, when are you going to Atlanta and when are you coming to Philadelphia? Those are two big cities that we haven't hit up yet.
Mhm.
So those are always on the list. Aside from the Tucson finale, we really haven't hit up American Southwest. I think that there's some interesting stuff there that could be done. And season 4 was in Chicago, but other than that, we really haven't been to the Midwest. So, I feel like that
Wow.
region definitely has a lot to offer. Um, so yeah, so I think there's definitely still a lot of stuff to play with. We've never been to like Appalachia. There's just um, a lot of places still left in the United States that have their own like regional diversity that we haven't really tackled.
Yeah, it's true. It's true, actually, now that you mention it. I Philadelphia is a particularly interesting one because I'm sure you saw at the James Beard Awards, but they kind of cleaned up in terms of the biggest awards. It feels like Philadelphia is having a real culinary moment.
Yeah, I mean, and they've got amazing chefs there. They have for a while. So yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot left.
All right. Yeah, a lot to go. We're going to be recycling cities anytime soon. I have to ask you about this just because it's been, been something that's been on all Top Chef fans' minds for the last, 4 or 5 days. But obviously, we've seen the news that Padma will not be returning to the show next season. Any sort of reflections on 20 years of working with Padma, just in terms of like what she's brought to the show, and um, any sort of inclinations of how the show might be different now that she's gone?
Yeah, gosh, it's interesting. I have no idea what it's going to look like without her. I think she's obviously done an amazing job, and the fans love her. I love her. She does bring a lot to the table for sure, and that is going to be um, hard to replace. And I don't know that you can't really replace that. We're gonna have to do something different. Um, but yeah, I just am so thankful for the time that she gave us. And I'm sure, and so many, I think you saw online and stuff, like all the chefs, the love that they have for her too, because she really does care. And yeah, we're sad to see her go, but I'm excited to see what's next for her too, though, because her show Taste the Nation is so amazing, and I know she's got other things that she's thinking about, so I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, I think Taste the Nation is a perfect show in terms of like balancing the food and the narrative and the learning and the social
Mhm.
issues. I'm really excited to see another season of that. But yeah, I mean, any favorite? What's your favorite Padma memory over the years? Not to reminisce too much or get too emotional or anything. And by emotional, I mean me. I'm the one who's going to get emotional here.
Don't worry, I was welling up a little bit too. I mean, it is sad to say goodbye, but Padma's always been amazing, and every year she does like a catered lunch for the crew as a thank you, which is always been really nice. And I'm gonna miss like actually having Krishna on set. She's brought Krishna over the years since, oh gosh, it was season 8. I think was her first year back as a new mom, and it's been fun to watch her grow. Also over the last 12, 14 years, 12, 13 years. Um, and and yeah, so she's just been, but and I think that it's always fun to see those moments that you don't plan, but they happen, of like, Champagne Padma in the All Star season, where we were doing one of those branded quick fire challenges, kind of, where it's like, an airline challenge, and she's just drinking some champagne, having fun with Jonathan Waxman, and Stephanie Smar makes a comment in an interview, and then voila, Champagne Padma is born. Um, it's just those fun little things that are certainly going to be missed.
Yeah. Well, I have no doubt that if any show can figure out what's next, it's Top Chef. So I cannot wait to see it personally. This is an LA food podcast, so I have to ask, where do you like to eat in LA?
Oh my gosh, I'm such a creature of habit. It's horrible. I, I my favorites are like Republique, and I love Scopa Italian Roots, Antonia's restaurant. I
Oh
freaking
yeah.
love that pasta and the rice ball. I'm actually going to Ply Provisions tonight, with some friends, and so yeah, so
Wow.
it's kind
So
of like
you're keeping it in the Top Chef family, huh?
do they're great chefs. But
They
yeah,
are. They
those are
are.
kind of like my go tos. But then I do love to explore what's new when I have time, which is not that as frequent as I would like.
Who has time these days, right? But there's always time for another meal. Doneen, thank you so much for coming on. As I said, we are so excited for the finale. I'll let you know we did Fantasy Top Chef this year and I got my butt kicked, but even so, I still think this is my favorite season ever. So just
Awesome.
congratulations on another epic season.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time today.
Thank you. That was Doneen Arquines. Wow, everybody. I can't wait to watch the Top Chef finale after that. I don't know about you, but I'm dropping everything and tuning in at 9 p.m. on Thursday. I am stoked. Don't go anywhere. After the break, we'll be right back with Father Saul to recap how Los Angeles pretty much won it all at the James Beard Awards. Joining us today for the LA Food Podcast recap of the James Beard Awards is a man who the only award he's ever won is the honor to sometimes co-host this podcast. It is Father Saul.
It's the only award I need, man. I love the selection committee for that process. I respect it. The diversity, I'm here for it. Yeah, man. James Beard Award,
It's
kind of where it all began for us. This was our very first topic of conversation, really. Awards and whether or not they matter, and
full
here we
circle. No, it's a massive week for the for the podcast, honestly, and honestly, all who love food. There's the James Beard Awards. There's the finale of Top Chef. It's pretty much like Christmas for the foodie world.
It really is. It's so funny. I didn't, being sports fans, June is always the best time of year for us. We got Champions League, we got NBA Finals, all this exciting stuff, Stanley Cup for those who care. And little did I know, Top Chef finales and James Beard Awards landing right about the same time. It's the best time of the year, man. It's Christmas.
Did you follow the awards in real time? That's my first question for you.
No, because it seems like a real pain in the ass. Like Gail was hosting. I saw that, or at least she opened the awards and kind of like the opening commencement. And I didn't realize this. They have like a whole red carpet going on. It's a real Oscars of the American food industry. But no, man. First of all, like the food awards are like a Monday night, not the easiest time to like set time a couple hours aside to watch. So no, I did not watch live, but I refreshed Eater consistently for when they drop their recap.
Well, it's interesting because yes, it's the Oscars of the food world. They really try to make it like ritzy and glamorous, and they have started live streaming, and the live stream is pretty good. But I will say, I think if we ever got the chance to go there and we did like live tweeting, we'd probably win a fucking Pulitzer, because honestly, it's so hard to get the results in real time. It's like they guard these secrets like they're, guarding the nuclear codes or something.
And they really shouldn't, right? The whole idea, I mean, they're media awards, it's a big branding event for the food world. They should try a bit harder to make this like an Emmys or an Oscars. They should get like Kevin Hart to come through and host this shit, although I think he got canceled for whatever reason. I don't know. Someone who's not canceled, ideally, to like, how the ESPYs do like Peyton Manning or Drake is like like a goofy comedic host. They should get that going a bit more. Yeah, no, I want a more easily accessible way to follow. It's a great event. It's super exciting. The nominees we were familiar with and we discussed, and some exciting winners too. I wish we could have like followed and like kind of enjoyed it in real time. Live tweeting's a brilliant idea. I don't know if they make people sign like NDAs or some shit in the room, but like no, it's and look, luckily at the end of the day, a couple hours after it was all wrapped up, we did get the breakdown of everyone who won. So same result in the end.
I was watching it in real time, so I could have live tweeted it. That like nothing was stopping me, right? But it just felt like I felt like weird live tweeting it from my living room, from the live stream, as opposed to someone who was actually there. But yeah, man, look, the most important takeaway is that it was a huge night for Los Angeles. I mean, I really don't remember a year in which Los Angeles demonstrated that much dominance of the James Beard Awards. Obviously, there were a ton of nominees, but there were a ton of winners too, across categories, media, restaurants. I was originally going to start with the media awards, but I actually think it makes sense to start with restaurant awards. Let's go to the food. And there were some really exciting LA winners. So let's start with a restaurant that we actually went to recently, and it's Best Chef California. Justin Pichatrungzi of Anajak Thai won. Did you catch that?
I did. It was exciting to see. Totally deserving winner, and like one that's it's exciting to be. It's really exciting. We talked about like when do awards matter? Like sometimes feeling disconnected from the awards. Do they really reflect like the energy on the ground and what people are super enjoying, or is it like way too grass tops? And that felt right as a place that's like exciting, on the rise. Look, it did win. I think it was the LA Times Restaurant of the Year as well. So like the accolades are, it is sort of a hot restaurant of the moment. But no, it was exciting to see. Good for him. Thai Taco Tuesday is one of our favorite meals during the infamous LA food podcast crawl across LA a few weeks back. No, really excited to see in a deserving winner.
It was this was a good example of the James Beard Awards, I think, awarding a restaurant at the exact right time. I think we have in the past kind of criticized them for sometimes being a little late to the party with certain places. And I think Justin Pietrangzi in his like trajectory as a chef was going to win a James Beard Award at some point. And this is the right time, I think, in his career for him to get that. It's sort of like when we talk about like, is this the right year for Joel Embiid to have gotten the MVP? Maybe not, right? Should he have gotten one at some point in his career? Maybe, but this year felt like, it's sort of like, okay, well, we'll just give it to him because there's nobody else we can't give it to Nikola Jokic another year, right? Sort of what it feels like here is like sometimes the James Beard Awards does that, but this year they got it right. I think they did. Best Chef California, I think they absolutely nailed this one.
No, they did. And you do wonder how the recent reforms to how James Beard goes about finding its nominees and selecting. I think they like groundswell seed a bunch of like people who can enter. Anyone can enter, and then they change the process of selecting nominees from the existing system that we've talked about before, where only past winners, I think, are part of the voting body, to a more diverse and a smaller select group of chefs doing it. And you do wonder if that impacted Anajak's ability to come through with a win this year. No, it's good timing. He's a young chef, a lot of potential, and you're exactly right. Getting recognized at the right time, along with several other chefs that I noticed who are, whether they're Top Chef alumni or just have really burst onto the scene in the past couple years, rather than having been like a well-known entity for 2 decades in LA and then finally get the award almost belatedly. So yeah, no, it feels exactly right, and hopefully will even provide a bigger platform for Justin to jump off and continue to build his career and success.
Yeah, I can't wait to have Anajak Thai at LAX. That's what I really need. The most interesting thing about the Best Chef California award, in my opinion, was that 4 out of the 5 nominees were from Southern California, Los Angeles and Costa Mesa. And that is such a departure from how California cuisine has typically been thought of, right? It's always been like Northern California, Lil Broing, Southern California with like the French Laundry and all the like San Francisco hotspots.
Yep.
I think this is a real coming of age moment for Southern California, man. It's super exciting.
It's been a long time coming. I think it's funny when we, I think our timing when we were both living in LA was exactly kind of the moment where the power started to shift in terms of restaurant sort of popularity and influence from northern to southern. You're right, like Napa Valley, Bay Area used to be where the Michelin stars were and where all the focus was on the high-end cuisine. And then you saw over the course of the 2010s more and more chefs come and kind of begin to reshape and elevate LA's food scene, build on the already great stuff there. And I think it was recently that like LA had no nominations even in the California category. I think just a year or two ago. Last year
they had no. Last year I think they had no wins, but yeah, there were years also where they had no nominations.
No nominations, and now you see like this is a little statement moment, and I think again, we'll only continue to usher in more great chefs and more attention to the LA dining scene, which, if you couldn't tell by the name of the podcast, we think is pretty good.
Yeah, I think we think it's pretty damn good. So moving on from this award, Best Chef California, in sort of the like overall categories, LA also got some love. Marguerite Demansky of Republique, also of Sorry Store and Bicyclette, won for Outstanding Pastry Chef, and Ototo in Echo Park won for Outstanding Wine and Other Bev Program. I think this is the rare occasion where you've probably been to both of those places.
I have not been to Ototo, but have been to Republique. That's an example of like an old standby in LA for sure. It's something I need to get more familiar with. I want to this is a great, especially with the advent of the podcast and us talking about awards. Obviously, got really deep on James Beard this year. I do wonder how often they have repeat winners. I know it's a possibility, but Republique is an example of kind of the flip we were talking about. We've known in LA, they have like the best pastry program like in the fucking city, maybe, and well, now officially possibly in the state. So great to see that. Ototo I've heard of and I've read a lot about, but would love to go and try, given the notoriety here. But yeah, no, it's exciting stuff.
Ototo is next door to Tsubaki, which is that
Right?
the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Japanese restaurant, a true claim for being one of the best blocks in the city as far as food goes.
I think you might be right. Shout out Echo Park, really continuing to evolve and hold it down in both positive and negative ways, as we've discussed. No, it's really exciting. And even as I was looking through, I mean, we went to Anajak and we went to Poltergeist, and on the LA Food Countdown James Beard Award list, Poltergeist edged out Anajak. So I do. I mean, like while even as I'm watching the awards and
Yeah.
appreciative of, I think, the more diverse winners and nominees, I was like, yo, when's our boy Diego gonna get on this list, man?
Yeah, man. Diego's got to get on that list, especially he should just get on the list for outstanding personal story.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling that he'll get on there for his food as well. Uh, final thought on the restaurant awards before we move on to media, but huge night for Top Chef. Gregory
Huge.
Gourdet won Best New Restaurant for Cannes. Damar Brown, who I think was on the Houston season,
Yep.
won for Emerging Chef in his role at Virtue over in Chicago. I mean, cleaning up, man. The Top Chef Mafia.
I mean, look, the Top Chef has obviously always been sort of a seed program for great chefs who then will go on to James Beard and even Michelin stars and big awards throughout the field. You see it go, and it's great to see those winners still in. And even deeper in this case, I don't know if you remember, Top Chef season 17, LA All Stars, Gregory Gourdet pitched Khan the concept for Restaurant Wars. And that was the episode before Restaurant Wars. He pitched Khan. He got selected as like the winning pitch. Did Khan, won Restaurant Wars, then opened Khan like in Portland and won a James Beard Award for Best New Restaurant. Look, from God's mouth to our ears, from the Top Chef screen to the James Beard Awards, he really crushed it. And it's so exciting. That's like a particularly amazing Top Chef story. And how many times do we watch a Restaurant Wars? This happened, I think, in season 18 Portland with Shota is winning. Shota and Maria is their winning restaurant concept. Where I was like, dude, I want this restaurant.
Yeah.
And they went up and did some pop ups. But this is like the
Yeah.
ideal example of like, hey, that Restaurant Wars concept looks dope. I want to eat it. And Gregory was like, not only will I give it to you, I'm gonna sit at the top of the mountain as well. So super exciting and definitely a restaurant I'd love to get down to.
It definitely has vibes of like Buddha coming into the competition super prepared and then just like doing what he had already planned. Like there's gotta be some inclination in Gregory's mind before he goes on Top Chef that he wants to open this restaurant, right? Like I doubt he actually came up with it on the spot, but still a Top Chef success story, and we can't argue with that. Now, before we move on to media awards, I promise this will be the last thing for restaurant awards. I just wanted to point out Philly had a huge night too. They won outstanding outstanding like overall restaurant and outstanding restaurant group. I didn't realize Philly was having such a moment too.
So I will say, I haven't, as a major Philadelphia 76ers fan and an East Coast boy at heart, I need to make my pilgrimage back to Philly a bit more often. But I do know from friends and from my most recent visit that Philly food scene is on a tear. I think they recently had one of Eater's top restaurants in America. There's a barbacoa place, South Philly Barbacoa, maybe it's called, but I can't quite remember that one a couple of years ago. There's some great, interesting concepts happening in the city. Me and my sister and I went out to a couple of great dinners there the last time I was in town. I've not been to Friday, Saturday, Sunday, which won, I think, best restaurant. But really exciting to see and a good excuse to get back to the city of brotherly love.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to do an LA Food Pod excursion. Well, moving on to the media awards, I think the biggest headline here, as far as Los Angeles is concerned, is that LA Times food critic Bill Addison won the Restaurant Review Award for reviews of Panchos Tlayudas, Anajak, and the Great Late Pearl River Deli. I mean, this is absolutely huge. Congratulations to Bill. I think the funniest thing about this, though, has been the petty coverage that Eater's given him today. Have you seen this?
Yeah, I have. I'm loath to throw the accusation out there, but explain what you're referring to.
You sent me the original Instagram post where Eater was advertising, or their story was basically like Los Angeles had such a great night at the James Beard Awards. And I believe their hero image was Kevin Bloodsoe, who we'll get to. But in the caption, they mentioned a lot of different winners. And notably absent from those winners was Billy A.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, well, look, give them some grace. Give them some grace. It's social media. There's limited word count, et cetera, et cetera. I type in www.eater.com and go to their website and look at the article on this. Bill Addison is mentioned in the article for having praised Ototo in the past. And then at the very end, the last line of the piece says, former Eater contributor and current LA Times columnist Bill Addison also won. Basically,
Wow.
that's what it was like, dude. Petty LaBelle.
That is so funny because all I had seen was the Instagram post, which was like, LA crushed it. Look at all these restaurants. Look at Kevin Bloodsoe. Also, look at all this media. And no Bill mentioned, despite them listing like all the winners in the post. And I was like, screenshot deal, like, haha, kind of funny. But, exactly what you said. Word count, maybe slightly petty because he's a direct competitor. That, though, in the article, doing a little bit. And it's kind of like in Mean Girls, where there's a scene where they're giving out like Valentine's Day cards, and the guy comes in, he's like, Valentine's Day for you, and none for Gretchen Wieners. And Bill Addison was Gretchen Wieners in the Eater column article. The listeners will understand this reference. Everyone knows Mean Girls. You're looking at me a little confused, but damn, that's the Gretchen Wieners.
No, I love it.
That's
honestly
petty.
what you're seeing on my face. What you're seeing on my face right now is the realization that this was the Kyle turn the camera on moment. So this is the part I'm clipping for the social media.
There you go.
Yeah, man, just absolutely hilarious. But look, we have to give Bill his flowers. And I do have to say, those were some particularly excellent reviews. But I think that Bill's quality of reviews is excellent across the board. And look, you have some massive shoes to fill when you're the LA Times food critic. You're filling the shoes of the late great Jonathan Gold, man. That's not nothing. And to do it with the, I think, elegance and also unique flair that Bill brings to the role, I got to say, like, we've given the LA Times some shit in the past for their like recent foray into becoming like Infatuation Part 2. But the one thing that they keep doing well and that they haven't let go of is keeping the quality of Bill Addison's column up.
No, yeah, congrats to Bill. Keeping the banner going at LA Times, which obviously during Jonathan Gold's tenure redefined the food critic as a whole, right? The way it's written about, the restaurants they go see. I remember when the hire was made, people were really excited. I think there was a little bit of an interim between Jay Gold and Bill, little effort that went awry. We won't mention any names, but Bill comes in, crushes it, has been a great representative for LA. And congratulations to him on the Beard Award. Very well deserved.
Yeah, Bill, congrats if you ever want to come on the pod, and we won't put it on video if you want to maintain your anonymity. But the offer stands. Moving on, Kevin Bloodsoe, purveyor of Bloodsoe's Barbecue, won in the restaurant and professional category for his book on barbecue. Really interestingly, his co-writer is Noah Galutin. Are you familiar with Noah?
I am not.
Noah is an Instagram and social media like chef person. Interestingly, he's married to Eliza Schlesinger.
Oh, no way. Okay, cool.
Yeah. He's really making a name. He's been making a name for himself for a long time as like a food writer and food content creator. But recently he's, I've been seeing him everywhere. So, flowers to Kevin Bloodsoe, but, also to Noah, like really huge come up. And this book looks really interesting. I'm not 100% sure I would ever buy it because buying a barbecue cookbook seems like something I'm just like destined to never use. But, could be cool as a coffee table book or just a gift to you.
I'll take that gift. I was wondering if it's like, is it purely like, hey, you got to get an industrial size smoker to make this shit, or will he have some tips and tricks for the home in it? No, I'll accept that gift, even if it's a coffee table one. Who doesn't like looking at pictures of barbecue? I look at pictures of barbecue all day. It's half my Instagram feed. I'm not mad at all.
Yeah, we won't talk about what you do while you look at those pictures, but I have no doubt that you're actually being honest right now. Couple more LA stories in the media awards. This one is kind of heartwarming, actually. The late Fatima Ali of Top Chef fame won Best Literary Writing for her book Savor. Do you remember Fatima?
Yeah, I actually have never seen her season all the way through, but I obviously know her story and very sad news of her passing. Yeah.
Yeah. So for listeners who don't know, Fatima, I believe, competed on, I think it was Top Chef Denver. So it was
Yeah,
several years
Colorado.
ago now. Colorado. Yeah, there you go. And basically, shortly after filming, she was diagnosed with a horrific cancer, which for a while it looked like she had beat, but then came back with a vengeance. And essentially, in when she found out that it was terminal, she sat down and started writing this book. And this book, Savor, is apparently about her, thoughts on, why food matters when you don't have that much life left to live. So I don't know. I ordered it on Amazon yesterday. Sorry, I didn't get it at an independent bookstore, but at least I ordered it. And I'm particularly stoked for this one. I don't know that she did her cooking in LA, but her family lived in San Marino, which is right here near South Pasadena. Um, Interesting fun fact about her. Did you know that her dad was the Attorney General of Pakistan?
I didn't actually, and I have some family who are actually lawyers in Pakistan. I think working like in the legal profession in the public sector there. Hope look, I can't imagine being the AG of Pakistan is the easiest job in the world. So good for him. Uh, yeah, no,
Yeah.
like it just, that sounds like a stressful gig. I understand why she didn't follow the family business, but no, yeah, I mean Karachi Grammar School. It looks like she went to know a ton of people from there and spending time between Karachi and Lahore, and then coming to Southern California. A story that's close to home, and a book that I think it would be worth tracking down. A good reminder for us all to go back, maybe rewatch some Top Chef Colorado and read Savor.
Yeah, Savor. We're all going to read it. LA Food Pod Book Club.
Love it.
Yeah, man. Well, I do think like he's not the AG of Pakistan anymore because I think he lives in San Marino now, so he made it out, so you don't have to worry about him too much. But yeah, as you said, can't be a particularly easy gig. Last LA story I want to bring up just so that nobody, or actually I'll bring up two more. One is Diep, formerly of Highland Park's Good Girl Dinette, won in the personal essay with recipes category for an essay it's actually pretty well written. I read it today. It's called Dog Shit de Quas, and it's basically about how like she, what she learned by failing in the kitchen, trying to make a really difficult dessert, and it's a very well written piece. Go and read it. I think Food and Wine published it. We'll put it in the show notes. Finally, the shows. We got to talk about the shows that won. So first of all, I just wanted to give a shout out to a show that I like quite a bit. I'm not sure if you've ever seen it. Have you seen Somebody Feed Phil?
I've heard of it. I've not seen it.
So Somebody Feed Phil is a Netflix show which basically features Phil Rosenthal, who is the show creator, writer, I think, as well, of Everybody Loves Raymond. And I have to say, initially when I like saw the promo for the show, I was like, this is so stupid. This is just some guy who's like really well connected in LA who gets to make his own food show because he's like, the creator of Everybody Loves Raymond. What the hell does he know? Like he's weird. I don't like it. After watching the show, I take it all back. It's extremely well done. The dude is so nice. Like, and he's the type of nice that cannot be faked. Like, there is absolutely no way that when the camera turns off, this guy is like mean. He is so genuine. He just like listens to people and like smiles at them and just like clearly like brightens up their day and is so enthusiastic about everything he's eating. It's honestly like you completely forget that he's not a chef, he's not connected to the food world in any way. It's just an infectious show to watch about love for food. So I highly recommend it. The show did lose, but I wanted to just give it a mention because it's a great show and Phil Rosenthal is an Angelino. But I just wanted to see if you've recovered from the shock of Top Chef losing to a YouTube show.
I am not shocked at all, and in fact was thinking once I saw that winner, we may want to go and do like a little bit of a ranking of the best food YouTube shows. Because look, man, you know me, YouTube's it's where the youth are. It's where some great content's at. I will say, I'm assuming this is for Top Chef Houston, right? Not the strongest season. Not the strongest season of the show. It was like a Buddha beatdown for like 12 episodes. So no, look, I haven't watched the YouTube video yet. I do want to. I haven't pulled up. Look, Top Chef has to earn it like everyone else. I would be shocked if this season lost a James Beard Award, because this season fucking rocks. Yes. And it's breaking barriers and we're meeting great new chefs. But the Houston season was, I thought, like a, more of a relatively mid Top Chef season. It's not enough to win every year. And I'm looking forward to eventually talking about how this season wraps up, which will be a really important sort of decision on their part. It'll be exciting. And I do think this season probably has a better shot than the Houston season. And let's check out this YouTube show. Tell me about it. What do you know?
Okay. I was a little shocked when I clicked on it because, to the best of my deciphering ability, I think it only has about 5,000 views, which I have TikTok videos with way more views than that. You know what I mean? So like, I feel like I'm low-key impressed with James Beard for even finding this thing. Or I'm just thinking, is it posted somewhere else where it's actually being watched? But all the links took it to YouTube. So to me, that makes me think that is the primary place where this thing is broadcasted. It's just like kind of like a very grittily shot YouTube video about, restaurant takeover with like a kind of a cool Instagrammy looking chef. I'll confess I wasn't watching it sound on, so I don't really know what it's about. But I was just shocked at the like low amount of views. But you know what that did, Father Saw? It made me weirdly optimistic about our chances of getting a James Beard Award nomination someday. Because if hundreds of thousands of views isn't a requisite.
I literally knew you were going to say that. And I can't wait to be there on the red carpet next year, live tweeting the show for the fans to finally follow along live with what's happening. No, look, man, it's really, look, we'll have to learn more about this winning show and if it was in fact posted elsewhere and had more views. But like, it looks, the fact that even if it was initially like aired elsewhere and then went on YouTube and only had 5,000 views, that is reflective of a relatively small audience, right? Like people like will follow along with clips from shows they watch on YouTube and like they'll get tens to hundreds of thousands of views themselves. So if it is such a small footprint of viewership and they were able to identify it, it makes me more compelled to watch it. I'm really curious about what this is about and what made it the winning narrative here. So excited and rooting for Top Chef next year.
Yeah, well, I want to talk more about the podcast that won, but before we do that, does the name Vishwesh Bhatt ring any bells?
That's right, frenemy of the pod, baby. He was part of our discussion on the James Beard controversy a couple weeks ago. I believe he's the one who famously took his award down on social media so he could put it right back up afterwards. That's
exactly right. So this guy, right, a couple weeks ago, there's a bit of hubbub around a chef down in the southern parts of these United States named Timothy Hansas, who was basically disqualified from award contention, and we'll actually get to this topic in a bit. But in protest, one chef smashed their James Beard Award, which showed a real dedication to the cause. But Vishwesh, he kind of like went halfway and just took it off the wall, and clearly was going to put it back up. I was perusing the list of nominees and just found it hilarious that he was actually nominated this year as well. And I guarantee that if he won, he would have 100% accepted the award.
No, I'm gonna guess 100% he did. And even if he did end up destroying the award he took down, now he has one to put right back up. Maybe he knew he had a win coming, and that's why he was like,
Yeah.
I can get rid of this one. That's fine. No, I mean, look, it is
Yeah.
what it is. Good on James Beard for, I guess, awarding a chef who was criticizing them openly, or awarding a writer, I should say, right? I think he was a media award, right? Is that correct? U.S. Foodways.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he is a chef, but he was nominated for I think something he wrote.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna shrug my shoulders at this one. Like, we'll talk a little bit more about the process for weeding out that James Beard is pursuing for, like, weeding out chefs that may have a shadier past and whose conduct does not qualify them for the award. But like, I thought most of the real issue back then was the transparency of the process, which sure, fair. And the way they're communicating out. And I think wasn't this guy the one who was pissed he wasn't getting reimbursed for going to the restaurants and the nominees and eating there? He's like, I want my free food.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get it, man. I get it.
Vishwesh
He's got, I want free food too, Vishwesh. I get it, man.
Yeah. Also, yeah, spoken as someone who's never been reimbursed for food I've made you eat. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I was saying real quick, you'll be seeing the Instagram post of me real quick, taking our podcast, swiping the podcast out, and unfollowing until I get my reimbursements for food on Food.
Yeah, we really can't afford to be losing followers, my dude. So find a different way to protest. Speaking of our podcasts that won, there were a couple of podcasts that won in the media awards. All super like heavy stuff compared to, us. There's something on the cost and consumption of abalone, which apparently is an issue. And also something on the like the twisted past of American school lunches, which was actually produced by Chef Jose Andres's production house. I later saw. There's also an emerging voice award, which a podcast won, and it's called "The Future of Food Is You," which bad title, probably good podcast. My question for you is: do we have to get more serious to win?
Yeah, you'll notice there's not like general commentary here. This is like real journalism that people are doing, which may be deeper than we get. I don't know, man. Let's try to break the bots. Let's try to zig when they zag. I will say, so abalone, by the way, if I'm not mistaken, is like its large snail that is captured in southern Australia, and there was a famous Shark Week episode on abalone and abalone divers who went down, and they have like a relatively high rate of getting attacked and killed by great white sharks. It is the most terrifying gig. So for me, I haven't listened to the podcast, but like, fuck the abalones, man. Leave them where they're at. Don't feed the sharks. Let's not give them a taste for human flesh. But it was a wild thing. Like, literally, like because like, they have fucking snails, they're coming up, they're like get attacked at the surface. It's nuts. Leave the abalone alone, is what I say.
Dear listener, in case you haven't perceived it, one of Father Saul's crippling existential fears is the ocean. So he's particularly primed to not be down with this particular issue. Look, I don't know. In my experience of something, if people are going to that lengths to get something, it's probably pretty damn good.
I think it is supposed to be pretty damn good. It also sells at a really high rate. That's why people go do it, because it's so fucking hard to get, because the sharks will fucking get you. That's why it sells at it's like a really premium product, I think. So I'm right about the ocean. Leave the fish alone. Leave the sharks alone. Leave the snails alone. I'll go listen to this podcast. Hopefully they mentioned it. That's real Saul content. If they're like, by the way, the sharks get them. The sharks get the people.
Well, they don't specify in the title what the cost is of abalone. Maybe the cost is human life, to your point.
That's literally that is correct. Yeah.
Well, look, man. Any final thoughts on the awards before we move on to dissecting the controversy around them?
Yeah, I got one for you. So look, we've had a couple conversations about food awards and their meaning and their validity. Curious, does such an LA heavy James Beard Award reap change or influence how you feel about awards in general? Look, this is the first time we've gone on the podcast discussing consistently the James Beard Awards, the nominees, the controversies, and so on, which we'll get to more of in a second. Has your outlook on the meaning or validity of food awards changed at all in this process?
It has, and I'll tell you why.
Hmm.
So, watching the awards and watching the winners go up there, talk about what this means to them, really put it in the context when they're up there of their entire journey, not just as chefs, but as human beings in the journey, in the context of not just their personal journeys too, but also in the context of their families' journeys, of their sort of ancestral stories as well. I found it to be really powerful. Now, I am extremely impressionable as a person in general. I cry at the drop of a hat. I literally, if you just look at me weird, I could tear up. But I have to say, this is one of those. It made me think when we were having that original question about do these awards even matter? I honestly think for my part, I was conflating these kinds of awards with listicles. The whole 38 essential LA
Yeah.
restaurant or it's not like I was conflating them, like I was confused, you dick. Like I knew that there was differences between them, but what I mean is I was just putting them in the same category. I was thinking like, why do they even care if they get these kinds of recognition? Like who cares if you're like on the LA Times list of 9 exciting new pizza restaurants, right? But something like this, I think, has a really intense weight to it. The beauty of the James Beard Awards is it's not Michelin. You don't have to be a Michelin restaurant to get it. You just got to be excellent. I mean, look at Anajak Thai, right? Like they are for lack of a better term, just your run of the mill Thai restaurant that has been doing some really special things recently. And for them to get that kind of recognition on the highest level, at the highest stage, with the highest visibility, I think that means something, man. What about you?
Yeah.
Are
Well,
your opinions any different?
I think maybe slightly too. And just to clarify your last point, you mean run of the mill as in like not 5-star luxury, right? I think Michelin is really kind of, aside from the Bib Gourmand, is really geared towards like your $4 signs on Yelp, really like high end experience when you're talking 2 and 3 stars, even 1 star. And it's cool. Yeah, I agree. It's really cool that James Beard is a place where Khan and Jack can get recognized. Yeah, no, I'm what this makes me want to do. I don't know. It's a really, look, I love these restaurants. I love these chefs. It's really cool to see them recognized, right? I appreciate it from that perspective. And I do think, I mean, to the point of our conversations, it seems like some of the changes James Beard has made to diversify their judging pool has started paying dividends in the kinds of restaurants that get identified and rewarded, I think, because you already have Michelin out there and doing like whatever the highest end stuff. I think it's really cool. It's kind of like a kind of a J Gold sort of ethos of like finding these small Thai restaurants, these new Caribbean restaurants in Portland and rewarding them. I like that a lot. What it makes me want to do, what I think would be interesting, and look, I know we haven't eaten at every one of these restaurants, but maybe if we just went back to a couple of years of James Beard winners and nominees, see who got nominated, see who won, and see if we might change who the winner should have been that year, right? Maybe for like new restaurant that year, right? Did those age well? Who do they miss and leave out of the nominee list? I kind of want to go backwards and see what the gaps were.
I have a feeling we would find some lists that did not age well because famously in 2020, they said that they were canceling the awards because of like COVID or Black Lives Matter and all that stuff, right? But the actual reason they were canceling it is because there were like they had like the widest nominee or winner pool of all time or something like that. And they were like, we can't put this out in the middle of the George Floyd protests. And so they like came up with some fake reason to like, cancel the awards. So I have a feeling if that's any indication, if we went back to like the mid-aughts or something like that, we'd find some, pretty horrifically crafted winner lists.
So let's give the rightful winners their flowers on the LA Food Pod, man. Maybe we keep it centered on California, new restaurants or something. We could go back and see what other restaurants that we know opened each year and see if there's maybe a true rising star that may have gotten overlooked.
It's like the redraft, the NBA redraft.
Yeah, exactly.
I do want to like spend a little bit of time talking about the New York Times expose that came out at the end of last week, timed with the beginning of the awards, published by Brett Anderson and Julia Moskin, who are actually, they've reported extensively on workplace abuse, specifically in the restaurant industry, which I found, they're the right people to be reporting this story. But we have to talk about it because wherever James Beard goes, a little bit of controversy follows, even with a little bit of, even with the shine and the positive vibes of this weekend. If anything, it's kind of unfortunate that this piece came out at the same time, but it's worth discussing. Basically, the whole piece was about how the James Beard Foundation is now, quote unquote, investigating restaurants. In the piece, the anecdote, which the piece is centered around, about this one nominee, Sam Four, who's still nominated and was there at the awards yesterday. Investigators called her up, and she says, quote unquote, interrogated her for some of her social media activity, which somebody had flagged as harassment and bullying. Now, the social media activity in question was apparently related to her advocacy for victims of sexual violence. So, not the best thing to be quote unquote interrogated for, right? She obviously took some issue with this, feeling like she was being somehow punished for this type of advocacy she was doing. What ended up happening is she was, interrogated by these investigators, or, they went through their process. And then JBF, the foundation, informed her that, after their review, she had not been disqualified from the awards. She ended up losing, the award, whatever. That's neither here nor there. This all really got me thinking, right? On one hand, this is exactly what people wanted the foundation to do in the first place, right? They wanted them to look into allegations of abuse, allegations of misbehavior. They wanted to do them to do it independently too. They didn't want, Joe Schmo from the foundation calling himself. They wanted independent investigators to do it. So on one hand, I think this is exactly what you asked the foundation to do. Now, you don't like how it's being done right now, and that's okay. Like I'll grant you that. But surely this is better than what was happening before, right? Can't we just give them a little bit of grace that at least they're trying to do the right thing?
Yeah, I think so. And reading about the experience, it sounds like the process was handled a little ham-handedly. And it seems like they could have maybe resolved it a bit more quickly and maybe even discreetly and with but I think but the rigor is completely warranted, right? Part of the reason they also canceled the awards in 2020-21, it's not just because all the nominees were white, but because many also stood accused of harassment and poor workplace behavior.
Yes.
So like, yeah, no, this is, and I look, I don't think the chef who's profiled in the article is really gonna get, like, this is a situation where someone flagged it, right? Flagged it, and it seemed like a kind of BS accusation. She spoke to James Beard for 90 minutes. They were like, doesn't seem like you violated our ethics policy, and she wasn't disqualified. And she said, oh, well, I shouldn't have to go through this and then maybe get like, accused for bullying as part of the attention I get for James Beard. That's absolutely fair. And maybe that speaks to the discretion that needs to happen and maybe like the way the investigation takes place. But I also don't think anyone will, based on her actual behavior here, versus our friend in Alabama, like the other chef who got disqualified for bad behavior, Timothy Hansis, who like kind of does seem, and has a former employer on the record in the article being like, he fucking threw plates at us and like would yell and yell until we cried, right? So it's
Yeah.
hard to manage behavior, and I think an investigation to prevent rewarding people with bad behavior is a fair part of the process. James Beard should probably make explicit that it's part of the process, right? And have like maybe be as transparent as possible with how they go about doing it. But no, I mean, bumpy and maybe like representative of a historic sort of bumbling from James Beard in the way it's gone the first round, but this should happen.
The Hanses thing is kind of proof that this is working in some
Yeah.
ways. I mean, he still denies the allegations, right? I mean, I get that. But to have one of his former employees go on the record with the New York Times making those kinds of allegations about plate throwing and whatnot, I mean, that to me, that's a serious enough allegation where even if like the James Beard Award should be at least getting some praise for making the difficult decision to no longer consider that. That's exactly to consider Hanses for the award. That's exactly what they were being asked to do a couple years ago. Now, to your point, yes, ham-handed. There also is like there's not a great process apparently for what happens after you've been disqualified. Apparently, as of right now, in order to like maintain anonymity and stuff, they're like the disqualified chefs are like still on the ballot. So they could technically win, and then it just goes to the second place person. So it's kind of messy in terms of what happens after a chef is eliminated right now, and people are taking issue with that. But look, it sounds like growing pains to me, not a fundamental flaw with the process or the organization.
Yeah, look, the intention in this case, I think, is generally correct, and the process will hopefully be ironed out. That what you just described does not make much sense to me, and that could be a timing thing. The fact that like the process for ethical evaluation came maybe too late, and they probably need to figure out a way to get a little bit smoother with that. But no, on a fundamental level, like no, this is what we intend, and it should also. I'm not sure if it does. Should, in our opinion, in my opinion, I should say, expand to business practice soon too, right? As we're seeing in LA with the case that we talked about a few weeks ago, and all over the restaurant industry with Rosetta. I think that eventually business practice should also be part of this criteria, because if you're stealing wages from your employees, that is not a practice we need to celebrate. So, but yeah, I have no problem. It's a bummer. I'm sorry for the experience this chef had, having to talk to someone for 90 minutes to confirm that she didn't violate ethical rules, but not mad. I'm not mad at it.
I think the worst look of this is just that she was actually doing some like really positive advocacy. It's unfortunate, right? She was doing some really positive advocacy, and then she gets like quote unquote interrogated for it. I would be pissed too. I get that, but I think that's just the optics of it are unfortunate. But hey, so are the optics of a lot of things, right?
Can't help it. Yeah, no. I think a successful year for James Beard. Look, they've had some negative press around these like kind of silly controversies, in my opinion. They clearly need to tighten up as an organization, and they're adapting to the changes that they've been trying to implement since 2021-22, since their 2022 audit, I think it was. But you want, if you're James Beard, right, and if you are an awards sort of institution that we want to be able to respect and know is valid, and continue to celebrate the winners and feel like the winners can have an institution that winners feel good celebrating, then this is part of the process.
Yeah. Last question on this for you. On the awards, not on this particular topic. Do you think that this cements Los Angeles as the best food city in the United States right now, in terms of their overall medal haul?
So it's an interesting question. I both think yes, and because James Beard is finally here, you got to start thinking, wait, who are they now? Who are they behind right now? Because they're behind someone. I listened to a podcast recently where Dave Chang named Miami the best city in the U.S. I haven't heard anything about that, and I'm really curious. My parents live in Florida. I want to hit Miami and see what's going on, because Miami now might be LA 2010, 2011. So and certainly LA has, in terms of brand and understanding, I think it's really beginning to cement as like, I think above New York, above SF as the most exciting color running place, but it has been that for a while. And I feel like the next cities are probably already reaching the level. So we'll be excited to see.
Oh my God. Are we like the Mayan Empire on the verge of collapse? Is that basically what you're saying?
I think it's a little bit dramatic. I think it's like LA food is second best in the country. Is this the apocalypse? No. I think we'll be okay. And I will say I think LA like will hopefully continue to be like continue to be now for years to come as a consistent culinary destination, even more so than it was in the aughts, maybe, where it was really kind of beginning to establish itself again.
Yeah. Okay. Final question before I let you go for the day, Father Saul. You've done great. How you feeling about the Top Chef finale? Do you think that one of your contestants is going to bring it home, or is my champion Sarah Bradley going to take it home?
I'm a little nervous, man. So obviously, I mean, the listeners know this. I've runaway winner, complete beatdown of Top Chef Fantasy as a whole. But to avoid becoming like those 2016 Golden State Warriors or 2015 Warriors, I gotta bring home the title. You can't win regular season and not win the championship. No, history does not remember you in the same way. So I want the win. Buddha is like the guy, but the way that Sarah's narrative on the show has got me worried. Like I think she's kind of like, they're centering attention on her in a way that kind of, I think she can pull it out. She's really dangerous. I was even tinkering with, I was listening to Pack Your Knives, my favorite other Top Chef podcast, also the only other one I know that talks about it. Actually, no, there's one other one. They actually executed a trade between their between the two hosts. One host had Buddha and Gabri, and the other had Sarah. And the host with Sarah traded for Gabri in exchange for a future pick in the next year draft, which I thought was really interesting because he's like, okay, look, I'm gonna get 2 out of 3. Buddha, it's the field versus Buddha, but I'll do it in exchange for a future pick. And I was like, I wonder. Now the thing is this: I couldn't propose that trade for you because he actually has a chance to win this season. The guy with Sarah and Gabri, they're really close. I think they have a 10-point gap because they're better at drafting than you, but. I could not propose something similar for you because you have no upside. You have literally no upside. So I thought that was interesting. I think Sarah's a real threat. I'm worried. What I feel confident about is
I wouldn't take the trade anyways. I really wouldn't.
Yeah, it's a bad trade. It's a bad trade. It's a short-term view.
Here, I think that if Buddha wins the season, this goes from being one of the best Top Chef seasons in recent history to one of the worst.
Yeah,
and it's because it's not because of my personal dislike for Buddha. It really isn't. It's just because what makes Top Chef so great and the seasons that, we remember so favorably from the past, it's the storylines, it's the twists and turns, it's the unexpected. This is just Manchester City winning the Premier League.
Look, if you can't appreciate greatness, I can't help you. People love dynasties. Buddha as a back-to-back Top Chef champ, the greatest student the show has ever seen. Possibly the most talented competitor on the show ever, right? I want to see greatness. I want to see LeBron win 6 championships. I want to see City run the table for a decade. I don't care. I want to see something no one else has ever seen, and this would be something no one's ever seen. And not really, but not in City's case, not really. But still, I like seeing greatness. Buddha is greatness. Number 1 overall pick, a brilliant pick by me. And look, he is that ultimate favorite. He is Steph Curry, MVP, 73 wins. Is Sarah LeBron? We'll find out.
I don't know. We'll see, man. But we'll be back on Friday with a Top Chef recap. We'll be joined by friend of the pod, Daniel Fargo, Forking Around. Saul will be back next week probably to do a more in-depth Top Chef sort of dissect. We're going to really do what's it called? When someone dies.
Post-mortem?
No, what post-mortem? Yeah. Hey, I don't work for CSI, okay? Yeah.
By the way,
we're going to be back next week and do that.
Yeah, we should do we'll do a full Top Chef postmortem, and we should seed. We got to talk about Padma Lakshmi leaving the show and who should replace her. I think that's a key topic as well.
I'm not ready.
No.
Yeah, I'm personally not emotionally ready. I've been watching Taste the Nation on Hulu just to so that I don't miss her already. Yeah, we'll have to talk that. We'll have to face our fears and talk about that at some point. But Father Saul, I want to thank you for coming on short notice, talking about this.
Thanks, bud.
Good job by you. Thanks for listening to another episode of the LA Food Podcast. Thanks to our very special guests, Doneen, Arquines, and Father Saul. Don't forget, Thursday night is the Top Chef finale. Tune in, drop everything. Seriously, you're not going to want to miss it. And on Saturday, come back to our podcast feed and listen to me and a very special guest recap what went down. If you like what you heard today, please go to wherever you listen to podcasts and leave us a rating, a review, subscribe if you should be so inclined. And if you're looking for me, you can find me at the LA Countdown on TikTok and Instagram. That's TheLaCountdown. And you can now also find me on Instagram at LA Food Pod. That's LAFOODPOD.